Welcome back, blockchain, crypto, and quantum enthusiasts. My name is Michael Strike, and this is about the other thing that they will not tell you about upgrading Bitcoin to post-quantum security. The most dangerous thing about a cryptographically relevant quantum computer is that you wouldn't even know that it exists. If such a system were stealing funds, the cryptographic signatures it produces would be flawless, completely valid, on-chain. Those transactions would look identical to a legitimate user moving their own money around. No warnings, no anomalies. The blockchain doesn't care about intent, it only cares about the math. And here's another part that makes people uncomfortable. This technology wouldn't be built in the open. Cryptographic superiority, particularly quantum, is a national security weapon. Intelligence access, economic leverage, and geopolitical advantage all sit downstream of it. There is absolutely no incentive for a nation state to disclose real progress, but there is an overwhelming incentive to stay silent. I've said over years that the secrecy and classification of quantum computing is probably something like that of the Manhattan Project. Not because the science is the same, but because once the advantage exists, silence becomes part of the strategy, right up until it's not. Now the counter argument. If a cryptographically relevant quantum computer already existed, we might expect cracks, sudden failures, unexplained losses, leaks, or whistleblowers. In a world where secrets struggle to stay buried, it's entirely possible we're still earlier than the fear suggests. So I don't necessarily think that there's a cryptographically relevant quantum computer in existence now, but I also can't prove or disprove it. And unless you have national security clearance at the top secret level, I don't think anyone else online can either. But history does have a pattern. Transformative capabilities are often acknowledged only after the effects can no longer be ignored. This is where the quantum-resistant ledger is fundamentally different than all other blockchains in the ecosystem. It's been running since 2018 and was built from the very first block using post-quantum digital security, NIST standards, to be post-quantum secure against near and future quantum computers. Being post-quantum secure since the very first block is a detail that matters a lot more than most people realize. No one really talks about it. You either design for quantum resistance from the beginning or genesis, or you inherit structural problems that will almost certainly never be fully solvable. If a chain launches with ECC, being that quantum vulnerable cryptography, and this includes all ERC20 coins, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and 99.999% of the entire ecosystem of blockchain. All indicators say that you'll never be able to migrate completely away from it without breaking something important. Any attempted fix forces painful trade-offs. For example, compromises to blockchain principles, deep technical complexity, wallets being exposed, or freezing users out of wallets. At the extreme ends, you face two camps on Twitter right now that are trying to resolve this problem. It's the freeze camp versus the no freeze camp. The freeze camp says that when Bitcoin implements post-quantum security to disable the old DSAs, and whoever has not migrated is thus frozen out of the new fork. The no freeze camp says that the legacy ECC DSAs should not be disabled, and to allow them to continue to be vulnerable to quantum computers, and let nature essentially just take its course. So what have we learned? If a blockchain starts with ECDSA, which we know is vulnerable to cryptographically relevant quantum computers, any future migration just basically becomes a disaster and a minefield. You're forced into breaking changes, incompatible address formats, rushed user action, frozen assets if you're in the freeze camp, or compromised assets if you're in the unfreeze camp, and for those who miss the window, ideological fractures over who gets protected and who doesn't. In other words, if you have a Bitcoin, it should be worth a Bitcoin. If you have some Bitcoins that are secured against post-quantum secure DSAs and some that are not, you could argue that one Bitcoin is worth more than another Bitcoin. And this creates essentially a value disparity, and that's no good. There is no clean upgrade path. Every serious proposal to migrate legacy chains like Bitcoin carries enormous technical, economic, and social costs. If there was a sufficiently powerful quantum computer, you wouldn't even know that it exists. Cryptographically, the transactions look the same. And ironically, in some project plans, and this would include some of the top 10 crypto or blockchain project plans. One of the mitigation steps is that once quantum computing becomes known or cryptographically relevant quantum computers are able to compromise security, to start the fork or to prepare or freeze the chain, something along that. And you can't freeze the chain. Have an opinion? Love to hear it. Go ahead and post your notes below, or jump into our Discord, or go to the website www.theqrl.org. And until then, keep those digital assets secure.